Solomon Wilcots, NFL analyst for SiriusXM's Opening Drive, on the possibility of the Browns trading Greg Newsome and what he's hearing. This from 92.3 The Fans, The Afternoon Drive.
I'm hearing on the street that they could end up making a move to get a second-round selection by dealing Greg Newsome. You guys have a glut of these really good cornerbacks, and Andrew Berry could look to pick up a draft pick by moving a player.
Do you think it makes sense for them to trade Greg Newsome for a second-round pick?
Yes, it does. And here's why, because you have three starters at corner. And how many corners do you actually start with on defense?
Well, I mean, you know this, Solomon. At this day and age, you're so much nickel. What is it, 70% nickel? I sort of consider a nickel a starter. I'm not sure about you.
Well, I think you do, but guess what you don't do? You don't pay nickel corners the top dollar. Think about L'Jarius Sneed. Are you going $20 million a year? You don't pay nickel corners $20 million a year. He's due a new contract. He's on the clock. He's next. Is he better than Martin Emerson Jr.? You can argue whether he is or isn't, but you could say they're both equal, right? So if you have a glut at one position, it usually means it's a trade commodity. Do you need more? Yeah, but you trust in your ability to continue to develop the cornerbacks on your team, but you don't feel like you have to overpay your nickel corner top of the market. Greg Newsome doesn't see himself as a guy who's going to take less than market value. So are you going to pay him $20 million a year? I think that's the question. $15 million a year, that's the question. Probably not. And if you're not, you don't wait till the middle of the year to trade him.
With that, let's welcome in Quincy Carrier, Untitled, Unfiltered Browns coverage. So, Quincy, I don't know if they could get a second-round pick for Greg Newsome. If they could, you might be able to convince me they should trade him. What are your thoughts on that?
I would just point out Greg Newsome played the third most snaps on this defense last year out of all of the players there, right? There's Martin Emerson, there's Myles Garrett, there's Greg Newsome. So he's absolutely a starting player. I mean, he's played more snaps than Denzel Ward did, or even Grant Delpit, guys who we no question call starters on this defense. So he is an important cog in this. And I would also not be so quick to assume what his market value is going to be. I see a lot of people jumping like, oh, it's going to be 20, it's going to be 15. Like, let's just see where the market takes him, right? And see what he's willing to take and see how creative the Browns can be to offer him something that might be worthwhile. They've been creative about this in the past. I don't think it's a done deal, lost cause. They're not going to be able to bring him back. They might even think about trying to extend him so they can avoid some paying the full fifth-year option on him. But I think the math on Greg Newsome is a little bit more complicated than people make it out to be. And I don't think it's as simple as, well, he plays the third cornerback position. He doesn't start. We can move him. He's expendable. I don't think he's necessarily that expendable. Now, if they think Cam Mitchell can come in and go from playing, 200 snaps or less than 100 snaps to playing 770 for this team, then that's a projection they have to make and be very confident in. But you do have to ask yourself, like, if you do trade Greg Newsome for a second-round pick, who's playing those snaps? Because it's not insignificant at all.
All right. The other thing is that $20 million doesn't take effect next year because we're assuming, I believe it's May 2nd, they have to pick up his fifth-year option. That's $13 million plus, 13 and some change. So, again, that's something that'll work itself out. But, second-round pick, I'd be surprised. That's usually a third is what you get for veterans that can play pretty well.